On a warm Sunday in June 1993, a maintenance call in a Minneapolis high-rise led to one of the most haunting discoveries the city had ever seen. Inside a quiet 21st floor apartment, police found a scene drenched in horror. Blood smeared across the walls, footprints soaked in red, and the lifeless body of 35-year-old Jeannie Childs. No forced entry, no screams heard. The TV still flickered with a sitcom, but in the silence, the walls whispered a story of unimaginable violence. What followed was a decades-long hunt for a killer who left nothing behind, except for one damning clue: a trail of bloody barefoot prints. This is the story of the cold case that wouldn't die, and the breakthrough that finally brought the truth to light. June 13, 1993 was supposed to be a quiet Sunday in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but for the crime scene team on duty, the day would become unforgettable. A page came in, this was before cell phones were common, from a sergeant requesting assistance at a high-rise apartment building downtown. On the 21st floor, something terrible had happened. When crime scene investigators entered apartment 21104, nothing seemed amiss at first. The living room was undisturbed. A sitcom still played on the television. No forced entry, no visible signs of a struggle. But as they moved deeper into the apartment, things changed. Inside the bedroom, the scene was catastrophic. Blood was everywhere, on the comforter, walls, and floor. Near the side of the bed lay the lifeless body of 35-year-old Jeannie Childs, partially hidden underneath. A seasoned forensic investigator spotted something chilling: bare footprints imprinted in blood. Not smudges, full, defined prints. A left foot, a right foot. Bare. Whoever left them had stepped in Jeannie's blood. Jeannie had been brutally attacked, stabbed at least 65 times, many of those wounds inflicted after her death. She had defensive wounds on her hands, suggesting she had fought for her life. The attack began near the bathroom where she was first struck, then continued through the hallway and into the bedroom. The water in the shower was still running, flooding the apartment and seeping into the unit below, prompting the maintenance call that led to her discovery. Forensic scientist Bart Epstein helped document the bloody scene meticulously. "Blood spatter tells a story," he said. Jeannie was slashed and stabbed in the bathroom, collapsed, smeared blood along the floor, got up again, and somehow made it back to her bedroom. There, her body gave out. Authorities collected dozens of items: a blue washcloth, a red t-shirt, a towel, a comforter, blood scrapings from the sink. No murder weapon was found, although a knife in the kitchen drying rack drew attention. Investigators didn't take it in. There was no visible blood. In the stairwell near Jeannie's apartment, blood drops were found. Could the killer have cut himself during the frenzied attack? Samples were taken, and then they hit a wall. Back home, Jeannie's mother, Betty Ammon, had just seen a news report showing a stretcher being taken out of her daughter's building. She called the coroner's office. The man on the phone asked if she was alone. "You better get somebody with you," he said. It was her daughter. It was Jeannie. Betty had just spoken to Jeannie the day before. Her daughter had a toothache and was in pain. "Let me come get you," Betty had offered. "No, Mom. Stop worrying about me," Jeannie replied. By Sunday afternoon, she was gone. Her sister, Cindy Blamer, was devastated. Jeannie was more than a sister. She was her friend, her idol. She remembered Jeannie's love for Lionel Richie, how she danced as soon as music played. She was playful, Cindy said. She lit up a room. But Jeannie's life had not been easy. According to her mother, Jeannie had begun struggling as a young teen. Later, Jeannie disclosed she had been abused by a male relative. She ran away repeatedly. Betty would track her down at great personal risk. Eventually, Jeannie turned to sex work. It wasn't the life her family wanted for her, but she remained loving and deeply involved in her family. She married twice, became a stepmother, and was living with a man named Arthur Gray at the time of her death. Naturally, Arthur Gray became a person of interest. Jeannie had reportedly worked for Gray, and there was a known history of violence. Hairs found in her hand matched him, but Gray had an alibi. He was in Milwaukee on a motorcycle trip at the time of the murder, a fact corroborated by several people. Police then turned to other clues. Bloody footprints near the bedroom window fascinated investigators. Jeannie's body was found with socks still on, but these prints were bare. Could they belong to the killer? Forensic analysts dusted and photographed the prints. Friction ridges, like fingerprints, appeared on some of them. Investigators compared them to several people, none matched. Still, the prints remained preserved in case technology one day caught up. Years of silence. Time passed, the case went cold. For more than 2 decades, Jeannie's family waited and hoped. Betty never stopped calling the police for updates. "I never let a year go by," she said. Then, in 2015, the Minneapolis Police Department's cold case unit reopened the investigation. Science had evolved. DNA technology was now far more powerful. They reviewed all existing evidence and found something intriguing. An unknown DNA profile appeared multiple times at the crime scene. On the comforter, on a towel, a blue washcloth, a red t-shirt, the sink. It was consistent, suggesting one unknown individual's biological material. They entered the DNA profile into a genetic genealogy database, myheritage.com. A match popped up. Investigators traced it to 2 brothers in Minnesota. One of them was Jerry Westerm. A shocking turn. Westerm was a surprising suspect, a father of 3, a businessman, a hockey dad, church-going. He lived about 40 miles north of Minneapolis in Isanti, Minnesota. No history of violent crime, no arrests for assault. But there was a secret. Westerm had 2 prior arrests for soliciting sex workers, something even his closest friends didn't know. In 2019, agents followed him to a hockey game in Wisconsin. He ate, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and discarded it. Agents retrieved it from the trash. Tests revealed that his DNA matched the unknown profile found throughout Jeannie's apartment. But DNA alone wasn't the only link. The bloody footprints, long preserved, became central to the case. Minneapolis forensic examiner Mark Ulrich compared them to Westerm's prints. He concluded 4 of the 7 prints, labeled E1, E2, B, and D1, matched Westerm's feet. E2, a distinct area below the big toe, was especially clear. Alicia McCarthy, a defense forensic scientist, agreed with Ulrich on E2 but disagreed on the others. Still, both sides now had expert consensus that one of the prints belonged to Westerm. Westerm was arrested in February 2019 and charged with 1st and 2nd degree murder. He pled not guilty. The defense pointed out inconsistencies. DNA from semen found in Jeannie's underwear did not belong to Westerm. Neither did blood found in the stairwell, which matched a man named John Eswine. Another man, James Luther Carlton, a convicted murderer who left similar bloody footprints in a 1994 killing, could not be ruled out in a 2012 lab report. But the judge did not allow Carlton or Eswine to be introduced as alternate suspects. Arthur Gray's hair had been found in Jeannie's hand, but he was deceased by this point, and his alibi stood. The defense pointed out the lack of motive and that no witness placed Westerm at the scene. Despite the questions, the evidence proved compelling. The DNA, the bare footprint, the timeline, it all added up. In August 2022, nearly 30 years after Jeannie Childs was murdered, Jerry Westerm was found guilty of 1st and 2nd degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. His longtime friend Wayne Triplett remained stunned. "Not a chance," he said. "It's not Jerry." But even he admitted, you don't accidentally leave DNA all over someone's apartment. Jeannie's family, though heartbroken, finally had closure. Her mother, Betty, wrote a letter she never got to send. "My emptiness will never go away since you were taken that fatal day. It wasn't fair you had to die. I never got to say goodbye. I love you and miss you so much. Love and peace, Mom." Nearly 3 decades passed before a name was finally etched beside the evidence. 30 years of silence, grief, and unanswered questions, broken by science, perseverance, and a single bloody footprint. Jeannie Childs was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a woman who danced to Lionel Richie and lit up every room she entered. Her story could have been forgotten, just another cold case lost to time. But it wasn't. In the end, justice didn't come quickly, but it came. And for Jeannie's family, it meant everything. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more real-life cases where the truth finally finds its voice.